Yo! 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 We've got to bring the love together and stop the violence. What's going on? Thank you for catching up. Man, it's a lot going on right now in the world. Let's just dive right into it, if you will. Yes, this week, it almost feels as if the Tyree Nicole's, but before we even talk about police brutality and self-hatred, more so than police brutality, because this is going to be a very important topic on self-hatred. And what we need to talk about this episode is self-hate and how it's oftentimes more deadly than just hate itself. It's self-hate, and this can help us get out of the hole that we're in. And so again, this episode we gotta bring the vibes up. Matter of fact, where's my crystals? I gotta find my crystals. Hold on, I'm gonna find my crystals. I came back. I had to get my crystals because the vibrations is, it's pretty crazy right now with all that's going on. I'm gonna rock my fluorite for this episode because, I need the positive vibes. And so like this past week, we've had everything from, well, first, I almost dropped an episode last week and I just had some recording issues, y'all. And so I didn't drop the episode, but one of the things I was going to talk about was black ownership in the NFL. And we're going to tie all this together. So don't think I'm just a random schmandom, goofball just having a podcast talking about, no. We're going to tie this all together. And so I was going to have an episode about, just the few black owners, there are no black owners rather, but the few minority owners in the NFL. Shouts out to the Cowgirls losing. How are we going to talk about ending racism? All these end zones have end racism, but yet one of the owners, Jerry Jones from the Cowboys, was at a rally to prevent black students from desegregating into a high school, in the 50s. And so, I love that, we're supposed to forgive, Jerry. And yes, we are supposed to forgive, but we're never supposed to forget. And I just love that, people like Jerry Jones, they can profit, they can, sit on the high horse, make billions off of people that look nothing like him. And then, the receipts come out later in life that, you are at rallies that were all for segregating. And so, now it's almost profitable to say end racism when, to truly end racism, let's have some more black owners in the NFL. Let's have some more black coaches. We've never had black coaches for the Cowboys, and I'm not a Cowboys fan, so y'all can have whatever y'all want for your coach. But just saying, in terms of, just showing that you're trying to create a safe place, a safe environment, but also an equal environment. They always talk that talk, but it wasn't until George Floyd that end racism, Black Lives Matter became very profitable. And so for people like Jerry Jones, to be honest, you just have to die. The racism just has to die out. And so, yeah, you may mean well, and yeah, but racism has to die. You can't end it. It just has to die. And so, the reason I bring that up is because, again, there's no black owners in the NFL. There's two minority owners, one Korean. She's the owner for the Bills. Female, by the way. She's kind of like in a joint partnership with her husband. And then we also have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are owned by a Palestinian owner. And, he got his startup through, basically having a motor company. He has like a lot of parts and stuff that he sells to different vehicle companies. And so that's, it kind of, again, it reminds me of being in the hood. You got all these black people living in the hood, but yet, you got a Pakistani gas station, you got a Korean donut shop. And it's a mind, because it's like, I see all these people that, they don't look white, but they have ownership and stuff. And so, it's kind of a mental handicap, if you will. The thing about this country that made stuff like Barack Obama so powerful was just having that representation in the office. It did kind of open up just the understanding of, wow, like I can be black and can, go into higher positions, not only in just, the football field or on the microphone, but, actually in, the business world and office, in places of true power and influence. And, the reason why, it's important that I bring that up is because, again, this is what the NFL profits off of, these events of Tyree, Nicole's and so forth. It's cool to, for the NFL now to really like profit off of these moments and let's have a moment of silence. And, are the 49ers gonna this weekend, have a kneel, because the same quarterback that they let go, I think I should digress, but y'all get where I'm going, right? Y'all get where I'm going, right? So please, let's pass these plates around. Let's share them. I don't care if you don't like how it tastes. It's that organic, baby. Come on, rock with me, y'all. And so again, we talk about like, the 49ers let go of Kaepernick over the same stuff that's happening right now. Over the same stuff. Regardless if the police officers was black or white, we about to get to that. But the fact of the matter is that, he was taking a kneel for police brutality. And so this weekend, again, just like Jerry Jones said, we got to bring up Massa Jerry. We got to bring up Massa Jerry. He said, if anybody takes a kneel for during the national anthem, they will, have a suspension. And so again, you tell me that, that was 50 years ago, blase blah, I should be forgiven. I'm just going by your actions and just by what you do. And so, we gonna kind of go into more of we're gonna go into more of this situation with Tyree Nichols, and this is a self-hate issue, and I think that this is one where I really need people in the comments. It's infuriating. It's just like I just get infuriated when I just think about, just another black man dead at the hands of cops. Because in this country, like even myself, like when I'm driving and I see a cop car, like sometimes my heart will naturally just be beeping. And like, yeah, like, I know I got to get some of my stuff taken care of, but, it's like, yo, like, I just shouldn't even have that feeling. There should be an understanding to where, like, if a cop pulled me over, it's like, okay, like, like I see, like, you're all together and like, go on about your way and just be safe out. Like, but no, it's always kind of a, like, like, what's your motive? And we've got to really work with communications. Again, is this a gun control issue? Because just 7 days ago, we also had, during, January 21st, the Lunar New Year, we had 11 people murdered. The Asian community was devastated by a gunman who just came in and just shot up, during celebration of the Chinese New Year. And so is this a gun control issue? Is this a police issue? Or is this a mental health crisis issue? We've got to ask ourselves this. Are we putting money in the right places and using our right resources to give people the help that they need? Because the more that we continue to just say it's a gun issue, we're putting a Band-Aid on an open, gushing wound, and that's not going to help treat it. We've got to apply pressure, y'all. We've got to apply the pressure. We've got to apply the pressure. We've got to apply the pressure. That's how you treat a wound. You apply pressure. You apply the pressure, baby. You apply the pressure to stop it from death. We not applying pressure. Y'all want, okay, so I'm gonna tell y'all about a pressure situation. Shouts out to my pops. My pops working overseas in Germany. Also a big shout out to the veterans out there. And this is where I'm gonna go with this story. My dad, my great grandfather was a veteran, fought in Vietnam War. And my dad had a bullet of his that was like memorabilia that he just kept just to kind of be a reminder of, his father who fought in the war. It's something to always hold. And so my dad, like 50 some odd years, 60 some odd years later is just in Germany, working, and my grandfather's long been passed, 30 plus years, 30 years, rest in peace. And what happened was, my dad's going from like Germany through Italy. He's just traveling through some of the countries in Europe, and he gets pulled over. And so they pull him over. They, you know, say, hey, where you from? He's like, America. And they're like, okay, cool, blah. I'm here for work. And so then they kind of like go through his stuff. And again, like, you in their territory. So, this ain't America where you could just say, I know my rights. Blah, 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 blah. And this is kind of, again, my dad was having an interaction with police over in Germany. It's just, he's complying. He's not, like, why the F you stopping me? You just kind of like training day. You want to go to jail or you want to go home? Do you want to die or you want to go home? These are the things. It takes a lot of this to make it to old age. And what I mean by that is like, my grandma, she's 87 years old. God bless her soul. She was 13 years old when Emmett Till happened. Yeah, yeah. And so if you want to talk about, getting to old age, just being alive, it takes a lot of awareness. It takes a lot of just, one of the best books that I read growing up, my mom took care of the author Ernest Gaines, but it was called A Lesson Before Dying. I advise anybody in my table to read this book. And I read this book as like a 13-year-old because, it was on Oprah's like book reading list. And it was just a great book about being at the wrong place at the wrong time. And as a black person in America, you have got to be aware of your surroundings, whistling in public, to keep yourself sane. One of my shorties, she told me that like, there was a guy who would like whistle classical music around white people just to like literally, show I'm not a threatening Negro. I'm not a threatening nigga. And it's, again, it's kind of like that, like, if I have to whistle Vivaldi or if I have to whistle, Stravinsky just to stay alive and show like, oh, this is a sophisticated brother. Sometimes you got to do that. You got to let them know like, I'm not that, and sometimes I think we got to be a real nigga, we got to like, no, we just got to be real smart. That's it. We got to be real smart. And so, again, like this is a just a self-hate issue, because like earlier I was talking about you look at like the only two minority owners in the NFL. A lot of times black cops are put in the most dangerous areas because, one, if you put a white cop in that dangerous area, it's like, oh, like, here's this white man just, anything that he does to the black people is just gonna be like, like it's gonna be up. It's gonna be up. But when it's a black guy, it's kind of like, and that's why even like within, it's such a crazy dynamic and it's just something so deep rooted, like even a black dad not being in the household. And so me bringing up my black dad, I never did finish my story. My bad. This is why I need somebody to kind of help me, be on the show. So the story ended with basically this. The police pulled the bullet out and they said, this is a very serious problem. And so they pull him, they take him, they didn't incarcerate him, but they took him to a holding station, if you will, in Germany. He had to kind of pay, a few dollars for lawyers. And they said, do you know that this is a serious offense here in Germany? And the thing about this was that in Europe, you have less than a week, whether your grandfather, sibling, whoever was in the army, if they pass away and if they had arms in the household, you have less than a week to return that to the government or down to the station, or they will come knocking at your door. And so that is how guns are controlled. That is how pressure is applied. And that was my reason in bringing up that story. And so again, that was just something, I was talking about, black dads, and, I just kind of had to mention my black dad. He is definitely one of my heroes. Just being a social worker. I'm gonna have to get him on the show. Being a social worker in New Orleans during the 90s and 2000s, the most murderous times when rappers were saying the murder capital, where we murder for capital. He was the psychologist that was reporting on those crime scenes, speaking to those families, of those childs, who had the, just traumatic events happen. And so definitely one of my heroes, and he got it from his dad, who again was, in the army, in the field, literally. Even though I don't agree with war, he did what he had to do to support his family. And that's what a real man does. And so shouts out to my men and my family who have just been an absolute inspiration. And that's why I'm trying to do what I do with this, pass information, but be very strategic, but also sharp in what I put out. And so, again, like having black dads, like even in the hood is like, it's needed because when we see a lot of times the black cops, The Wire is so interesting. Like it's it's my favorite show actually, but there was a very powerful scene in the show where, these kids would always have they would talk to black men in particular, like absolute shit. And whenever it was like a woman that would just say, hey, you kids sit down and blah, blah, blah. It was just like, and what it was just, it was the lack of an authority figure. And so like, a lot of times like, we just look at all these deep rooted issues within like, cops and like the interactions, like, is it like, not having a dad and having a combative complex, or, like when we see ourselves, like, do we see the just the worst that could possibly happen? Like with this instance, is this black cop seeing another black man and they just think like, oh, like, he ain't like, he's in this neighborhood, people be calling me while I'm recording this show. I gotta go into airplane mode. But basically, with the self-hatred, is it is this a complex that we have, from our dads, not being present in the home? So when we see the police officers in the streets, it's like an authoritative figure talking to us. And it's a dynamic that we just haven't been able to really, truly come to grips with. And so, it's truly a skill set. The biggest thing with guns is not the guns, it's the people, and not being able to take ego out of the equation, not being able to take de-escalation. It's all about ego. It's all in like, I have this gun, like, don't mess with me. I have this gun, don't play with me. I go into it's always funny. I look at like water guns, like every little kid wants the super soaker, and that's power. And so like, when it just comes to, this situation with Tyree Nichols, it is such an unfortunate situation, but I truly feel that we've got to really work on a lot of things. Self-hatred, oftentimes, even the store owner, the black store owner in the hood, he's, like the people of color come in and it's like, you're looking at them extra carefully versus, the white counterparts, who come in and it's like, okay, like, they're not as threatened and they're not what I'm used to seeing, constantly. It's like, positive, like negative stereotypes oftentimes reinforce negative, behavior. And so if like, it's always like hate when I'm like driving in the city and I see like someone black on a billboard and it's just super like, this person was armed robbery and stuff. And so it's just, again, it's a negative action that can reinforce a negative stereotype and even like unconscious bias. And so this is a greater issue than police brutality. Is this police brutality or is this self-hatred? Because again, why are 5 black men, I'm not even gonna say black officers, why are 5 black men beating up on another black man like that? This is truly going to be just a question about, you know, like we say blue lives matter, but we're going to see if they really matter now. Now, they did make bond, because you can best believe if he was white getting his ass beat like he did, they would probably not make bond. But, you know, they said, hey, like, shouts out to my boy Freddie Gibbs. Basically had a line where it's like, kill someone black, you might get manslaughter. Kill somebody white, life without parole, basically. But, it's kind of like that again. Like, you kill somebody black, yeah, you gonna get off. Like, oh, yeah, the judge, yeah, oh, someone black. It's cool. Like, stuff happens, but, Taylor's, let it be Taylor Swift. Tory Lane shooting Megan Thee Stallion, he'll probably get 4 years, but if it was a Taylor Swift, they'd throw away the key. And so, again, there's just a lot of issues going on in this country. It's a mental health crisis, or is it a gun crisis? We want to give our deepest condolences to the 11 victims and the other victims, the 11, lost lives rather, and the remaining victims who were just, injured in that shooting in Monterey, California, because no one deserves that, not even your worst enemy. And so, just ask yourself, as, we're at February now, what are you doing to spread the love? What are you doing to bring the peace? Because there's a lot of hate going on. A lot of people need help. A lot of people need love. And what are you doing to spread that? And so, again, I hope the 49ers, I hope they get their asses kicked. They got rid of a black quarterback who was standing up for police brutality. I'm glad the Cowboys got their asses kicked, because they had an owner who didn't believe in desegregating. And yeah, I just think that this world is full of shit. And I'm going to call them out on it. And so should you. So that's what this channel's for. It's about the God's honest truth. And if there is a God, I know some of my followers probably don't, whatever. That's besides the point. I believe in a higher power, and I believe in God, and I believe in just treating people well. And, yes, mom and dad, I'm going to church. I am definitely, I'm not going to lie. I haven't been to church in a minute, but I'm getting there once I stop working on Sundays, because I'm working every day of the week. But I need to go ahead and wrap this before I go on a rambling run. But I love y'all. Please be safe out there. Again, it takes a lot of this to get to old age. I know a lot of us think, oh, we're old, and it's like, nah, getting to old age is a luxury. Maybe not in this country, and that's something for another episode that we should discuss, because how we treat our old people in this country is absolutely disgusting. And so, for sure, we are definitely gonna, talk about how we can treat our older people better, because we're getting to that age where we just have to be, more mindful of our decisions. And, rest in peace again to Tyree Nichols. Please comment, please like, please subscribe, pass a plate, bring some meals to the table too. I have been feeling a little under the weather. I got some turmeric and ginger, and so thank y'all. And